Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Long Game Podcast. My name is Mark and I'm here with a very incredible man, George Barton. Thank you, George, for coming on. Fun fact, I've known George for years and years and years, and lovely family and very ingrained in the Tamworth community. And I felt, George, thank you for accepting my invite to come on. You've got an incredible story. And I'd love and I'm sure the listeners today would also like to hear that inspiring story, and across multiple industries and where you are today doing fantastic things. And I'd love to start from the top, and I'll hand it over to you, George, a bit about your life.
Well, I probably should put a disclaimer out there to start. I first met Mark when he was probably a 6-year-old kid running around with an afro.
Yes.
Started dating a girl. She was 17, I was 18.
Yeah.
And in Marriott Street, and you were the next door neighbours.
People won't believe that I had an afro. Yes, yeah. That's what 17 years in real estate does.
And that's
can't believe you remember the afro.
Yeah, I remember the afro.
Yeah.
And that 17-year-old girl is still my wife today with 3 kids. Married 25 years in a week, actually. 30,
Congratulations.
30th or 31st, I can't remember,
She's
but
an
I'll get one of them right.
queen. The best.
Very lucky. Very lucky. Very lucky to have. Yeah. So, look, my story, Mark, as you know, my story, and a lot of people listening, or the Tamworth would probably, because it has been sort of a little bit in the media when I was a younger guy. But born and bred on the family farm at up Gunniganoo, next to Gunniganoo Station, which is luckily and aptly known as Barton's Lane now, which is is a privilege, and very proud to that be a part of the family history forever now.
Yeah.
My grandfather carved that out of nothing. There was nothing there. A soldier settlement block. Literally fell a tree in the middle of the yard, picked the bark off the side of the tree, built a humpy, and lived in it for 18 months while he fenced the place and built the house.
Soldiers settlement. Are we post World War II or World War
II?
Yes.
But yes, so basically they carved off a fair bit of Gunniganoo Station.
So your family's been there since the 40s?
Earlier the 30s, yeah.
Holy moly.
I think the late 20s, actually. So, yeah, we're nearly 100 years.
That's incredible.
On the one place, yeah.
That's incredible. And everyone knows, driving out of town, Barton's Lane is there on the right as you're driving out of town.
Yep.
And it's gorgeous aspect out there. Yep. Absolutely gorgeous. And, of course, Gunniganoo being a huge part of our... it was Gunniganoo Station and the other station as well.
Windy?
Yeah.
Windy for the west.
There were 2 large stations here when Tamworth was built.
Yeah. Oh, you're probably thinking Bective as well.
Bective Station, that's right.
Yeah, so Bective was the north, Gunniganoo, Windy was to the west.
Yeah.
That come to, still, obviously, those 3 stations are still there. But
so that was your grandfather in the 40s?
Yeah, my grandfather. He was George as well. He was George Barton. Named after both my grandfathers, which are amazing men, George and George Barton, and Raymond Gentle. So I'm George Raymond.
Wow.
Barton. So yeah, very privileged to be named after both my grandfathers.
Awesome, mate.
Yeah, it's something I carry with pride.
That's my second boy, Petey.
Petey.
He's Peter Barry.
There you go.
Off
Peter
his
Barry.
grandfather. So hopefully he's as successful as you, mate.
Yeah, well, I know. Obviously, know your father. I know
he
Barry
loves his
as
sport.
well.
He loves his sport. So
good.
Anyway, I'm hijacking your story.
Yeah, no,
Please
we
go.
could go. We could just sit here all day, Mark. Obviously. George Barton, grandfather, he fenced the place and built the house, and very lucky that that tree he fell was started as a workbench. There was a shed built over the top, and that stump still sits in that shed today. So we've got old black and white photos of that. So then my father, Colin, took on the farm as a young age, as a 22-year-old.
He took on the farm at 22?
Yeah. Grandfather passed away. He had my father very late in life.
Okay.
And he passed away in his 70s with a heart attack, and then my father took over the farm at 22. And then my brother Clive, which a lot of people in Tamworth know very well as well.
Yes.
He runs the whole farming operation. I don't have anything financially or anything to do with the farm.
Yeah.
And then his boys, Lockie and Kurt, back on the farm there now. So we're sort of 4th generation on the one place. And
wow.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough to own a little hobby block just not far up Barton's Lane next to it, which is great. So very privileged.
That's fantastic. Is that where Timmy goes whenever he visits town?
Yes. That's where he comes out. Yeah, Timmy. So obviously another disclaimer. Mark, one of Mark's best friends, and wedding party, I think, was my great brother-in-law. So yes,
I love the guy. Absolutely love him.
Good man.
Very good guy.
Heart of gold. Timmy.
Yes. Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
Basically grew up, went through Timbumburai, out to Farah, and then just played all the sports I could in town. Yeah. Whether it be cricket or hockey or anything I'd tried. Had some great mates from hockey that still today, and and cricket. And then, lucky enough to fall into the sport of clay target shooting through my parents, through my father.
Yeah.
He was a local member at the club, and I used to go along, annoy everyone there as a young kid.
How old were you when you started shooting?
Look, I would have started when I was probably about 15 or 16.
Gotcha.
Clay target shooting. I was always a very small kid.
So you were probably year 9?
Year 7, 8, 9.
Year 7, 8, 9, yeah.
Look, born with a gun in my hand, shooting rifles and stuff, air rifles around the farms and stuff like that.
You would have been shooting the minute you could hold one.
Yeah, correct.
But
actual competition clay target shooting, I was always a smaller frame kid.
Okay.
So I just had to get a bit of size about him. He always busting to want to have a go. But so did that, and it's duck to a water, and I found it pretty easy. And then from probably 15 to going on my first overseas international trip as a 17-year-old to South Korea while still at school to my first World Cup. So it happened pretty quickly. And then basically, I was very lucky in timing-wise in my shooting career as well, as the timing was in 96 leaving school, so 30 years this year. It was our 30-year school reunion, which it goes in a flash.
Has it happened?
Happened, yeah. I was late last year. I was overseas. I was in Doha.
Gotcha.
I missed it late last year.
Yeah.
But, 30 year, 95, 30-year anniversary, which was a shame to miss all those guys. But anyway, from there, basically, timing-wise was the 5 years leading up to Sydney Olympics 2000, and they started a full-time shooting program at the Institute of Sport. Right time, right age for me, and got accepted into that. Brother Clive got accepted as well, but he knocked it back. He decided to stay in Tamworth.
Okay.
I took up the opportunity, and went down to Institute of Sport for the next 4 years and lived in Canberra, did my greenkeeper's apprenticeship while I was training full-time in the lead up to Sydney Olympics, which changed my life very quickly. So,
wow.
And then, went on from there.
So from, year 7, 8, 9 to the Sydney Olympics, and how long in that journey was the Sydney Olympics? From when you started professionally shooting to Sydney Olympics, what sort of years?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing you say professionally shooting, because in my day it was it's still semi-amateur now, which creates. We'll probably talk about this a bit later on.
Of course.
What it does create you as a human being, and what it teaches you outside of career.
Yeah.
So the money wasn't in there. It was enough to basically, when I was down at the Institute of Sport, our ammunition and training costs were provided. I lived in residence for some time.
Gotcha.
But I still had to work outside of those training hours to make $1.
Interesting.
So
interesting.
Yeah, so I did tours around the
You're
Institute of
living
Sport.
like a double life, really.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, you're fitting. So when and we'll talk about this later, as I said, semi-professional elite athletes, their time management skills are off chart.
I bet.
Because you've got to be able to train full-time, work full-time, and fit everything into this picture that you've got going. You've got to be able to switch from one to the other instantly, and that's why, semi-professional. Professional athletes are driven, but there's a few things, and I'm not taking away from professional athletes at all, but the drive not to have to make an income while you're training to put food on the table, it's a different level of effort or consistency or commitment is probably the word I'm looking for. In those sports that aren't lucky enough to have the big dollars associated with the footballs and all that sort of stuff. Look, the public scrutiny comes with that. With those guys, that we don't have, as we're not in the media as much. So there's the give and take. Don't worry, those guys, the professional athletes, they have got other stuff that they've got to deal with that the semi-professionals don't.
Yeah,
but it's just a point that
it makes sense. But I mean, you're not taking anything away from those professionals.
No, not at all.
But you've made a really clear and obvious statement that makes sense to me, which is if you're living two lives, you need to be very good with time management.
Yep.
And it makes sense. If you're doing something 100% of the time and you're funded 100% of the time, well, it allows you 100% of the time to devote yourself to your craft.
Yeah.
You've got to be really gifted, one, and you've got to be really good with time management, two.
Yep.
To be a professional that also works throughout that process as well. That's really interesting. I didn't think of that at all until you mentioned it. Really, and we'll talk about this in a moment, but professionals that perform on the stage and also at work would be fantastic leaders.
Yeah, correct. And that's where you find that happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't get lost in the conversation.
Yes.
We'll just finish the shooting thing. So
Please do.
Didn't go to Sydney Olympics. Missed out on the Sydney Olympics. My brother went and performed amazingly. Just missed the final. He was the best in the country at the time. Deserved to go. Did an amazing job at Sydney Olympics under a lot of pressure. I was a picker first reserve, so to speak. I was that person, but I wasn't involved with any of the training, or I had to sort of train independently and be ready if someone did happen.
Yeah.
So the two guys that went to the Sydney Olympics at the time, there was three of us that were really at the top. They made the right decisions. Those two guys were the best in the country at the time. I was probably in third position.
Okay.
But that was an interesting thing that got that gravel in your gut, so to speak.
Yeah.
Makes you hungry for the next one. I was too young and I wasn't ready, which was a good decision by the selectors looking back on it.
Mm-hmm.
But then went to 2000 and 2008, 2004 and 2008 straight after that, and retired not long after 2008. A couple of Commonwealth Games in between, Manchester and Melbourne. How could I forget? Home games.
Melbourne.
2006. Lucky enough to win a silver and a bronze. Silver in Manchester and a bronze in Melbourne Commonwealth Games.
Mate.
And winning the bronze in front of home crowd, mum and dad supported us. Never really got to travel to see us compete. We had a couple of World Cup events in Sydney that mum and dad come and see.
Yeah.
But to do that in front of that, and the very unique part of that bronze medal, it was actually in the teams match, and the two-man team was my brother.
Wow.
So that was pretty cool. To win a bronze medal with your brother
mate.
at the Commonwealth Games in front of your home crowd with your family.
Yeah.
We obviously both of us won higher, what people perceive as higher medals in the world and stuff and bigger achievements. But to me, that bronze medal is probably, you can't sort of script that sort of stuff. So
No,
which is pretty cool.
That's a core memory.
Yeah, so basically that I went very quickly from that. When I was 17, I never thought I was going to leave the farm, never thought I was going to leave the state. From the age of that first trip at 17 to Korea, between there and 22, I'd been on every continent in the world twice, except Antarctica, obviously.
Wow.
So I've seen a lot of the world very quickly, never carried a camera, couldn't care.
Yeah.
I was just going there to shoot, had no interest at all in seeing anything. Like I remember one day sitting in India and they'd organised a trip to the Taj Mahal, and there was a 1980s replay of Australia and Pakistan Test match in cricket. And I said, I'm just going to sit here and watch the replay of the Test match. I couldn't be bothered going to see the Taj Mahal. I'd seen it on a book.
Wow.
How could it be so much different? A lot's changed now. I'd be the first one putting my hand up to go and see the Taj Mahal now. So, I'd seen the world, travelled everywhere, been everywhere, but really seen nothing. Because it's airports, motels, shooting range, airports out.
Yeah.
So, but it's taught me a lot of life, and obviously taught me how lucky we are in this country. To where we are. We are, the old phrase, the lucky country it is, it couldn't be truer, to be honest. When you travel to some of the places, and we have gone to some wild places, like, it's not all the European places you think we go to.
What's the sketchiest one you've been to?
Oh, having my teeth removed in the slums of Brazil were pretty ordinary.
Stop it.
There's some pretty wild stories. We could go on for a long period of time. Having an abscess in my teeth, and when we land in Brazil and having to go to a dentist in the slums, and he drilled through the hole with no anaesthetic and just drilled the hole straight through my cheek, and it all come out.
Oh my gosh.
That was sort of that sort of but they've all got, it's sketchy, but they've all got great places. Like there's parts of India which are, my brother Clive loves India. I don't enjoy it as much as he does, but it's Peru. We've been just amazing. Yeah, there's been some places that you sort of get to go that but anyway.
Incredible. Now, your professional career has developed over that time. And can you tell me a bit more post sporting and into where we are today?
Yeah.
A bit of a brief.
Bit of a brief. I'll make it pretty quickly. It's been a roller coaster, and you learn from all your mistakes and your wins, obviously. But you learn them. There's a thing in life, Mark. You learn the most from the mistakes that hurt the most. Mm-hmm. So when I, in the sporting world, I made a mistake in the 2008 Olympic Games. I was sitting in second position right the way through with probably 5 shots to go. Made a mental error where I let myself believe I could make the final and possibly win this thing. Split second, lost focus where I was in the process. missed 2 targets, a double, which cost me and ended up in sort of, I think it was 7th or 9th or 7th. Anyway, I ended out a little way down the track, but still in the top 10, I think it was. But yeah, that you never forget that. And then there's some things in business that have happened to me over the years that you've made some mistakes and things that have happened that you never forget it. So the ones that hurt the most, the ones you never remember and you learn the most from. But so left there, did my greenkeeper's apprenticeship, come back to Tamworth, just had maintenance business, mowing lawns, landscaping business, had a couple of trucks running around, contracts, moved through progression into the turf farms, went pretty hard, bought some turf farms just prior to the GFC. Took a big, put it all on the line. They were handing around a lot of cheap and easy money back then. Managed to secure some money. GFC happened, and the worst drought in history prior to the 2009 one happened. As a turf farm, probably not the best. Struggled to get through that situation. Went out backwards, crawled my way back out of that. That was a period in my life that was pretty tough.
Okay.
Financially, mentally, and it's a credit to Danielle that how we've gone through some pretty dark times, and there hasn't been an issue, and we've been strong together the whole time, which has been great. So climbed my way out of that, and then packed up and got offered as I retired at the same time I was retiring from shooting. I was trying to do that while I was still competing. Got an opportunity to work for Breeder Australia, which was my major sponsor at that point, and looking after their sort of business in the north half of the country. Moved to Queensland on a wing of prayer with 3 little kids and a wife with no support. And as again, Danielle was amazing. She basically brought those 3 kids up by herself. I was on the road the whole time, working my ass off to try and get us back, and crawled our way back to a very positive position at the moment. But took a left hook 7 or 8 years ago, 7 years ago, couldn't see there was. I'd always wanted to climb my way into life and business. Yeah, that's the athlete and the coming out of you went a chance phone call, a sliding doors moment with Daniel McCulloch. Yeah, and ended up myself in real estate, and was there the day that Daniel and myself and his wife Karina opened the doors of McCulloch Agencies. Yeah. There was a lot. Was that 7 or 8 years ago now? 7 or 8 years ago. Wow. And then that's flown. It has flown. And then there was a lot of other stuff, obviously, that were involved in that were a little bit later coming on board. And, it was a roller coaster ride very quickly. So to where we are today. Yes, and where you are today for the listeners, you're at Lord Agencies. Yep. So Lord, LAWD, whichever way you want to say it. Yep. They acquired the real estate business off McCulloch Agencies 2.5, a bit more years ago. Yeah. And then we've moved into that. So it's an amazing company. Very proud to be able to say I'm a stakeholder in that company now, which has been great. Fantastic, mate. Congratulations. It's I'm very proud to be offered a part of that business. Yeah. It's a great business. It's a national business. We're not a franchise. Yeah. And we've sort of it's great having the business suites of having a full valuation side of the business, transactions part of the business with ag, residential and lifestyle. And then we've also got corporate advisory. So we've got a team of people led by Jacqueline Hope who look after the big corporate ag transactions. Got you. And then we've also got an auctions business, Lord Auctions, that have come in and joined about 12 months ago. So they look after a lot of the big machinery. They'll do clearance sales, but they're also big corporate machineries, valuation as well as transaction in machinery as well. So it's a full service business. It's a full service suite business, and that's the plan. And still very skewed toward, there's not a large, you can service any customer really. Yeah, and big or small. It's reminiscent of me to actually make a point that we actually, I've walked away an ag side business, but we do have a very strong development side of the business based out of Melbourne. But now we've branched into Sydney with some very capable people in Sydney that do more of the development. Melbourne guys smash it down there with the peri-urban areas in further development. Is that house and land, or is house and land, but also commercial as well? And commercial the whole thing. Yep. So and those guys are really good operators. And they've got a very clever team down there. So we've got to see if we can bring them up here. No, they're very clever. They'll do well here. Yeah, one step at a time. Rome wasn't built in a day. Yes. You've got, as we say, we played the long game.
the long game.
And Rome was there, but we're very aggressively moving forward business. So I know this is not an infomercial for Lord. Sorry, mate.
No.
But I'm very proud to be a part of the business and the way it works.
A big part of the give back, and if there is a give back at all, we're all taking a bit of a step with good faith that, hopefully there's someone listening that might go, hang on a minute, I've got a big farm and I need a bit of help with X and Y and Z.
Yeah.
And they know where to go. Like, I think it's all about connecting people. Podcasting's new to me.
Yep.
I'm a long-term fan of podcasting. That's where I consume a lot of my knowledge. And I know that when we spoke, you were a bit of you listened to a couple of podcasts too. Yeah. People love it. It's where we need to be.
Well, I'm actually, a lot of people say the amount of hours, I do a lot of kilometres in cars.
Yeah.
And they said, you'd be a podcaster. I'm actually the opposite. I actually drive. I'm a bit weird, right?
Yeah.
I drive without the radio on.
Yeah.
I drive with no music, no radio. That's my time where I can let my brain go free and I think of stuff. I actually have a whiteboard marker in my car.
Yeah.
And when something pops in my head, I actually write it on the windscreen.
Okay.
And then while I'm driving, I'm on another call. I don't forget about that. I go back to that. When it's done, I can just wipe it off the windscreen. That job's done.
Wow,
so
I've never heard that before.
I do that, and
that is very cool.
Yeah, if I'm driving from somewhere say I'm in northern New South Wales and I've got to be in Sydney that night, and I've got 6-7 hours in the car, a lot of the time I'll actually write a list of things on the window that I've got to do, and then I can.
Sense.
My goal is to have them wiped off by the time I get to Sydney. So time's not lost while driving.
Yeah, there you go.
We're very connected. I've got Starlink on the cars. I'm 100% connected now. You've got no excuse.
I like that you were driving in the car without music, without distractions. It sort of lets your mind sieve out anything that you need to. So it sort of drip feeds down, and then you go, okay, I need to attend to that, or this is a reminder. You just pop it on the windscreen.
Yep.
And then was it on your drive back that you would attend to those things, or when you stop
straight away. It's a phone call, and while I've got off the next one, tend to it straight away and wipe it off. That's done.
Yeah.
Then there's the next one.
And that works for you. People can set if they've got access to CarPlay, they could go, hey Siri, place a note for
Correct.
But I like.
Are you showing my age now, Mark, that I'm writing stuff on the windscreen? I'm not using Siri and putting it in. For
those that are visual, that's the way to go. But it's a really good point, because I think we sometimes being with yourself can be a very bright and a very dark place at times. So people try to drown it out with music or with whatever it might be. I'm going to actually consider doing that. Just next time I'm on a big drive, not listening to tunes.
Just tune out. Just let your brain relax and let as you said, let it sieve out.
Yeah.
And any complex deals that I've got coming up, how are we going to put this complex deal together? I'm currently working on one we listed just yesterday. It's down at Liverpool Plains. It'll be arguably, or it is the largest land offering on Liverpool Plains probably ever.
Wow.
It'll be 75 million plus towards 100, depending on what happens with the negotiation. We've got 3 vendors that have all been put together. It's 12 months worth of work. We've probably got 9 between water. We've probably got 9 contracts to get together between water and land and different identities in it. How you sieve that contract out, how you sieve the deal out with that, you can just let your brain go and things pop into your brain if you let it happen.
Now, with deals like that, you would be integral in the negotiation and the planning. Your support team, what does that consist of?
Being a national business, our support team goes nationally. So, and that's why I sort of mentioned the suite of businesses. We've got, as I said, Jacqueline in the corporate advisory, but we've got our senior directors who have had huge amounts of experience in doing deals, coming from different angles as well, which makes us a really balanced business. You've got Danny Thomas, based out of Melbourne, Cole Medway, which I do work with on this job quite directly as well. They've been in the industry forever. Danny's come from a valuation business and corporate business into transactions, so understands that side of it. Cole Medway's come from a real estate.
The valuation piece would be very important at those numbers. Yeah,
and it's how you put those deals together and how they deal with our corporate clients and very successfully. And being understand on what our corporate clients' next deal is or what they want to do, and then we need to understand that to know when something pops up, we go, oh, this will actually suit what you're doing. So we're not just transactional business. We're sort of a partner in what they do, a part of their process to acquire and sell assets as well.
And sometimes it's a journey.
It's a journey.
The long game. There we go.
But the reality of it is, Mark, it's all the same. The fundamentals are all the same. The decimal point's just in a different spot.
Gotcha.
The fundamentals are exactly the same.
Yeah.
There's no difference.
So it's all a negotiation. The fundamentals of the negotiation are very similar.
Yep.
The numbers are different.
Yep.
Yeah. I've got a couple of quick, fast questions for you.
Yeah.
If that's okay. So the discipline, you would have to be a professional athlete. Discipline was a big part of your life.
Yeah.
And being a team leader and a stakeholder in a large nationwide company, I would assume that there would be some similarities and some continuing disciplines there.
Yeah,
Do you want to shed some light on that?
There's probably a couple of guys that went through the system with me in my early days saying discipline. Am I talking about discipline in the early days? I probably let a few opportunities go in the early days of not being disciplined enough. But anyway, I could probably get away with natural ability instead of discipline. So, but you learn that as you get a bit older. But look, discipline look, I think I use the saying all the time. And I use it to another agent. I was talking on the phone to today, an opposition agent, which my goal, that doesn't always happen, my goal is to get along with everyone, to be able to work with everyone. We all try it. Sometimes it doesn't work. We're in a very competitive dog-eat-dog world, but I think if all the agencies and agents can actually get along with each other in a very professional manner, it's better for everyone involved.
Well, I mean, we understand may the best man or woman win, right? But there's ways to win.
Yep.
And adding value, in my opinion, is how you win. Yeah. Not tearing down someone.
Yeah, correct.
And they're two very different things. So I think that resonates with me, George, in our business. You know, there's a way to win. There's and we saw it in history. We saw it in warfare. We saw it in there. There's rules of engagement. There's and business has that too. I think in the country we're a little we're blessed that there are some better country values, in my opinion. But it's not foolproof. Coming back to your being, you don't have to have a beer with your mate, but you need that respect.
Yeah, 100%.
It's important, right?
It's very important. Yeah. And we're sort of digressing a little bit, but it comes
back to discipline.
It comes back to the long game. You know, it's how do you? But we'll get to that. Discipline. But I think it's more so about the guys that turn into rocket science are the ones that fail. It's not rocket science, right? So it's very simple. It's relationships. It's being honest. It's being your values, ethics, all those sort of things in business. You're not going to win every time. And if you don't take it personally. There's all these little things, but what it basically is business and sport, and particularly real estate as well, where you do go on a bit of a journey, and there is a process in that journey, is very much about breaking it down. And I'm going to sound really boring because I'm not going to come with the secret sauce of what it is. It's probably what you've all heard before, but it's just a simple process. It's about getting out of bed. It's like not, picking up a shotgun at 15, going to my first Olympics in 2004, and going, here I am. It's a simple process you go through, and it's just wash, rinse, repeat. You've got to go through a process. You've got to stick to a process. So when you start an Olympic campaign or Olympic cycle, okay, we all want to do it, right? We all sit in the back of our mind, we want to win Olympic gold medal. I dreamt about it. As a kid, I thought I was going to go to the Olympics for cricket or hockey. I didn't even know cricket wasn't even in the Olympics. That's how young I was, right? Gotcha. That was just something that in my head, I was lucky enough to go to the Olympics, which I can't believe it actually happened because I was a kid this high, little tacker, about the same as you with your afro. But 7 or 8 year old kid, I don't know what it was, but anyway. And that process happens through a small lot of processes, and it starts by the first training session, getting that over and going day by day, and inside the day there's processes, and it's no different to going in real estate and business. It's like the old saying, how do you need an elephant? One bite at a time. One bite at a time. It's so simple, but it's so good, and there's no secret sauce, there's no rocket science, but it's sticking to those principles and sticking to that process, so eventually you wake up one morning and you're going, holy shit, I'm at the Olympic Games. Yeah. And that's where the process gets to. It's not about, I'm going to get there. It's like you wake up that morning and go, Yeah, right. It's an interesting thing, Mark. It's not very, in an amateur sport that doesn't get any media attention, not very often you get, my event went over 2 days, but not very often you wake up of a morning and realise that if I have 2 good days at work, I can change the course of myself, my family, and probably generations if I just have 2 good days. You know, that's not very often in your life you get that opportunity. I've had it twice, obviously 2 Olympic Games, but it's you don't think about it at the time, because if you let your brain go through that, you're gone. You live in a bubble. You're just so focused on what's happening right here in front of you. If you let the blinkers go and start looking left to right, you start losing focus. And when I come back to early in the podcast and I said that 5 shots to go, I let those blinkers open. And that's for the first time in 9 months, I stopped the process I was doing. We had Steve Hooker at our company conference just a couple of weeks ago. He won the gold medal in 2008. I was there. I was actually in the pole vault.
You were there, right?
Yeah. I was actually. I went up to him after it and I said, "Mate, I was actually there." He goes, "Oh, what part of the stand?" I said, "Mate, I was in the athlete stand."
Yeah, wow.
So I said that to him. I actually went to watch Usain Bolt run the 200, and he was a bonus. He won the gold medal on the same night.
Wow.
But yeah, and he spoke to our whole company. There's about 120 at the conference only 2 weeks ago at the Gold Coast. And he told exactly the same story that I just told then, but he didn't lose focus right at the end. He stuck to that point, and he tells a really good story. And I went up to him and said, "See, that was really cool." But I said, "It hurt like hell." Yeah. Listen to you say it. And because that's when I said the mistakes that hurt the most, the ones you never forget.
That's very cool that you've got that level of self-awareness, and you're able to call on that whenever you need it as well, which is because life, it continues, and your life now will have challenging moments like those moments, like most people have. And probably the cool thing, and this is a question I have for you, those stories that you're sharing with me and our listeners today, I had goosebumps when you were talking about it distilled down to 2 days, 2 good days. That's just blows my brain. Do you have moments where you share that with, say, junior team members in your organisation? Yeah. Within reason?
Yeah, probably not, and we should be, but...
they might be listening here.
Yeah, they probably are.
Yeah, they might be listening,
But, them hearing Steve speak, Steve Hooker is pretty much, I'd be telling them a different stuff, but I've got a sob story and he's got a hero story. But, yeah, it is. But I tell you, we're sort of digressing a little bit and we haven't got it on any sort of notes, and you probably wouldn't even realise this yourself. I've actually stepped back into coaching. Yeah, I've done a 6-month trial end of last year. Shooting Australia approached me to come back on as a high performance coach for the Olympic team. Specialty coach in my discipline.
Yes.
Which was skeet. There's 2 disciplines, there's trap and skeet. Olympic trap, Olympic skeet.
Just for our listeners, what's the difference between the 2?
Yeah, that's another hour podcast.
Oh, got you. All right. Google it.
Yeah. I'll just say skeet's harder than trap, and then the trap guys.
The trap guys will get upset with you.
They think it's otherwise. It's a candom thing. Yeah. I'll put a little thing while I can.
Yeah.
So basically, I've come back on 6-month trial. I wanted to see how it was going to work for them and for me, and work around my current career. It's very, very clear that my current career is the number one thing. But Shooting Australia are really good to deal with, have been excellent. They've got a really good team of guys and girls in there at the moment that are helping facilitate that. So I'm signing up at the moment. We'll sign contracts again with a view into 2028 Olympics.
Wow.
So there'll be a specialty trap coach, specialty skeets coach, which is me, an overall head coach, and then we've got a program manager, and then we've got the Shooting Australia staff.
It's incredible, man.
Around
well
that.
done.
So I deal with
you're perfect for the job.
Yeah, well, I deal with the top athletes, and it's really great. I sort of take them to the World Cups and World Championships, but deal with them a little bit more of a mentoringship internally.
Well, that was where my question raised. Yeah. So that's really cool, mate.
Yeah. Probably haven't tapped into it work-wise as yet. But what we're doing,
I think that's
only a matter of time.
That's a matter of time, mate. Yeah. And look, there are and there's similarities between business and sportsmanship. and sporting. Are you sensing a few similarities?
Most definitely, but
Yeah.
I probably want to get out there too. I'm no saint in discipline in work as well. Like I need to work on it every day. It doesn't, like the George Barry who works with me directly on a day-to-day basis, he will be absolutely wetting himself laughing, saying that I'm disciplined and I take one step at a time and I go through this process. He will be wetting himself laughing, saying that's not the truth. But I need to work on it every day myself. So it's not something that it's a learnt skill, and you need to keep on improving in those skills, in life, in business, and no one's got it right. You need to improve until the day you die.
So for any salespeople listening that are going, oh my gosh, I'm not very good at discipline, your message to them would be work on it.
100%.
Every day.
Every day.
Don't have to be perfect, but...
every day.
Yeah, that discipline piece, if it comes naturally, then... sometimes it could be both ways. Like you could be a naturally born disciplined person, but not be a sociable person.
And not have the flexibility to move sideways when it needs to happen.
It can go both ways. You can be a very sociable, outgoing salesperson and need help with discipline. Yeah. And they both need to try and find their way to the middle, don't they?
There's plenty of psychologists listening to that going, yeah, there's a word for that, Mark.
Okay.
There's a terminology for that.
I bet. I've got a couple questions.
Yeah.
And with relation to long-term development in as a person and in business, are there any pointers that you might have that you haven't raised already around succeeding one step at a time to therefore get to those 2 days and be on the mark?
An old guy said to me years ago when I was young and coming back, I had landscaping businesses, I had mowing businesses, we had a turf farm, I had guys running everywhere, and I was still trying to shoot at Olympic Games level, and I had a lot going on. And I was at the point, I was doing everything, but wasn't really being really good at anything, which a lot of people, high revving machines, I'd probably describe myself as a high revving machine, would don't fall into that trap. And that's their, as I said, the psychologists again listening to this are going, yes, there's actually terminology for that, George. We study to see you guys like that. Is that an old guy said to me, and I'd loved it, I was 20, I'm nearly 50, so he'd be past by now. Had a trucking business out of Dubbo and owned a commercial business up here in Mary Street.
Okay.
Said to me, George, he goes, can I give you some advice? And I said, yeah. He said, don't try to become a millionaire overnight. And I was 22 trying to become a millionaire, trying to take on the world. I don't have enough time. I need to do this in the next 5 years. And 5 years felt so far away. Yeah. I think the long game, the older you get, the more patient you get. You look back on that long game, what you're telling you. And I think it's a great topic and a great advice that you're saying that wealth is the long game. It's not the short game. When you're young, you can fall into the track of trying to make it short game. Yeah. It's a long game. Real estate is a long game, as you know. Yeah. As you know, you really should be acquiring real estate, not selling it. And I think there's a lot of people starting to realise that now. Really proud. My middle daughter, Matilda, which you know. Yes. She's settled on she's just turned 21, settled in her first house with the boyfriend in Grafton last week.
Fantastic. Big congrats.
Big congrats for her, and that's an amazing achievement for both of them. Grafton's an affordable area to get into at the moment.
And Grafton's punching well above its weight.
Well above its weight.
Yeah.
So she's bought through there. They'll go through and reno it. They'll go through the whole
improve
process.
Get it ready.
Get into it.
Either rent it or sell it at some stage. And that's awesome, mate. Good to
hear. So that's the thing, and start there. And when you look back on it, and value of land, like you look at land values. We've had a peak in the last 4 or 5 years. Which have been, extraordinary. I'd say we're going to plateau here for a little bit in rural land for a while, but you can't sustain 300% growth since 2015 either.
Well, especially for those entering the market, potentially looking to borrow to get into those assets. That's a challenge at the best of times.
Look, and it's interesting. We're digressing into rural land and the values, but it was the same in the 90s when I left school. You really couldn't make money if you were going to go out by yourself and borrow money and do it yourself. It was near impossible unless you had a family or you had some sort of backing or something to do it. So nothing's changed. The system's really still the same. But look, rural land, like you look at it, it has it 7% return on investment.
Yeah.
Doubles every 10 years.
Yeah.
And if you look back on that to the 20s, it's actually true. And every year they would have been. We're sitting here now saying, how can this block of work be worth $5,000, $10,000 an acre, $2,000 an acre, whatever you want to say, or hectares? How can that be worth $5,000 today? That's unaffordable, unattainable today. How can 10 years' time that be worth $10,000 an acre? Every year for 10 years generation, they've said it. 10 years ago, it was $2,500 an acre. How can that be worth more than $2,500 an acre? Well, now it's $5,000. I don't know. No one knows. If we all knew, we'd have the crystal ball, right? But you've got to work on history. And it hasn't been that curve. It's been steps, right? All the way through. But I don't know. What do you do?
Well, I mean, there's the data never lies. So what I found very interesting is you mentioned in the 90s, people had very similar sentiment and consumer trends like they have today. I think that sometimes, and I'm included in this, unless I continue to revisit the data, you can get sort of siloed in your opinions.
Yep.
Like, oh my gosh, surely that farm shouldn't have sold for that. It's about X, Y, Z above market value.
Yeah.
But then what is market value? You know, like you mentioned, every 10 years in steps, it goes up. And
I need to clarify this, Mark.
Yeah.
You said in the 90s. In the 90s, you would have been eating Cocoa Pops watching Fat Cat on TV.
That's correct. Yeah, collecting Pokemon cards.
Catching Pokemon cards.
Yeah, that's right. So we were collecting, actually, wealth creation, Pokemon cards now. But yeah, look, it goes in steps, and you know, half a decade of a reasonably plateaued market with 3 to 5% growth might just be what is normal. Like and
Correct.
that's what success looks like.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned with real estate acquisition, the long game, if you buy it, hang on to it, and never sell it, you never realise if there's a loss or a gain. You can only realise the benefits of increased value over a period of time.
Correct.
So
correct.
The golden rule is being disciplined, like you mentioned, because there's plenty of times if it's anything like me, I get 3 different ideas every morning, and one of those might be selling a property, and it's like, oh yeah, but I could do this, and it's like, well, no, Mark.
Yep.
Listen to what George said in the podcast. Hang on to it, because in future, and I think there'll be a lot of people there that have ideas about what they want to do.
Yeah.
Really, hopefully, selling should be the last, if you can, the last thing you should do, because over those 10 years,
Correct.
you get those increases.
Yeah, correct. And look, and everyone's got the same story, right? Everyone here's got the same thing. We bought a house, Danielle and myself, very similar to Matilda and her boyfriend, Lockie. We bought one in Canberra, ex-Gubby, $124,000. It was 3 months before the first ever home buyers grant come in, which was $5,000.
Okay.
The market was stagnant. I still remember the old real estate agent was thinking, these kids are wasting my time. He sat on the front step and had a cigarette while Danny and myself walked through the house ourselves.
Yeah.
Obviously, nothing was selling. The market was stagnant. And I just said, and just not knowing real estate, just, I don't know why we said it. We said, well, let's just buy now. Forget the $5,000, because surely it's going to go up more than that. No, just... Sure enough, it just boomed. That was the start of the boom, really. And so we bought that. I was on a wage of, 100 and, would have been, I think $300 a week was my wage at the time. So it was nothing, but, house on the trip. But, that doubled in 2 years. I sold it to buy rural land. But now if we look back on that there now, it'd be $1 million plus where it is, So, it's something, it's lessons learnt when you get older.
Yeah.
And the young people listening today will be going, oh yeah, everyone says that, but Jesus, I was that young kid saying, what are they talking about? But it is the long game, mate. Very point in what you're saying.
Couple more questions.
Yeah.
So when it's all said and done, and when, we're old farts at the pub chilling out, or up at the farm,
The guys at the office already think I am that old fart.
Yeah, do they?
Anyway,
okay, got you. Yeah, well, I've got staff now that were born in 2000 and something. So me being born in the 90s, right? I was a 91 model. And they're like, who's this old guy? And, I finished school in 2008, and some people think, oh my gosh, you're a baby. But then I've got staff going, I was born in 2007.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, right? So the long game. But when it's all said and done, is there, so for George Barton, the person, is there a legacy that you'd like to sort of And you're partway through building your legacy. There's more to come. But is there something that you're sort of thinking, I want to leave this sentiment behind for future generations?
Look, obviously for future generations, personally, you would want to, obviously your children, and you want to give them the best upbringing and give them the best and put as much into them as you possibly can. You'd love to leave a legacy for everyone, would love to leave a legacy for the kids, whatever it is. You're working your ass off every day to try and help that legacy for your children. I think that's just human nature, really, isn't it? And that's nothing special. But as a legacy as a person, personally, I think... I guess if you come to my house, Mark, there's no Olympic memorabilia up my house.
Okay.
So that doesn't really worry me. And I sort of don't really talk about it around new friends, and I'm very humble about it with people I meet. And there's a couple of work colleagues of mine that know that and absolutely love bringing it up to everyone they possibly can. And they see my face go red, and I go, oh, God, here we go. And they think it's the funniest thing they ever think. And every point they get, Simon Cudmore, every point that they get to bring it up, they bring it up. But it's great. It's good. It's a great conversation piece. People are interested in it. I probably shouldn't hide it as much as I do. But I think the point I'm getting to is that the legacy is not the Olympics. The legacy is not the business. The legacy is not material. It's the man. So, if sitting around your funeral, I would like people to be able to say, geez, he's a good fella. Geez, he's a good guy. It was really cool. I really loved his company. Not like, mate, that's amazing. He went to the Olympics. That's amazing. He did this. That's amazing. He did that. It's the man. It's what you got left when they take the hockey stick, the cricket bat, the shotgun, or whatever it want to be, or it's what's left when they take the brand, the PRD brand away. Like you've built an amazing business, an amazing brand here in the Tamworth area, and now Liverpool Plains, obviously. What do you want to be known for? Do you want to be known as Mark that owned PRD, or do you want to be known as Mark Sleeman?
Yeah. And that's a big part of the reason I asked, because it's a tough question to ask yourself as a person, because we have identities, business owner or dad or husband, or but when it's all said and done, what would you like to be known as? And I really liked your response to that around, I want people to go, he was a good bloke. He was a really nice fella, and it was a pleasure knowing him. And I think fundamentally that you want that is the reason why your success is growing.
Yeah.
Because all of the other stuff, it really comes down to being a good person. Doesn't matter what you do.
Yeah.
The long game is about consistently being a good person, being absolutely okay to make mistakes along the way.
Yep.
But as long as you're adding value in people's lives, it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether it's coaching athletes, that's awesome, by the way, or whether you're leading teams.
Yep.
That's really cool, mate.
And when you come back to when you're saying the podcast there earlier about the long game in business, right? That's, in my opinion, what it's about. It's about the man, the woman, or the human being, is that you can do business with your competition over a long period of time. Yes, you might have some wins, you might have some losses, you might do something that someone upsets you in business, but you don't take it personally, you just move on.
Yeah.
You come back, because guess what? The old saying, don't burn any bridges, right?
Yeah.
And that's as true as it is here today. You just don't know when you need to walk back over that bridge.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got a question for you, Mark, actually.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And I've watched your career since a young fuzzy head kid.
Afro boy.
Yes. And I've watched it from a distance. You have been the innovator in Tamworth real estate your career, right? You're the first one to go on Saturday morning radio.
Yep. Yes. Yeah, the radio.
The radio.
92.9.
92.9.
Yeah.
You're the first one to embrace social media.
Yes.
You're the first one to put, you're the first one to put photos on signboards.
Yes. Yeah.
PRD, you've been in front of that curve the whole one. So, you've brought those city or those mentality marketing on how you do your business and how you do what you're doing.
Yeah.
What's the next step for Mark Sleeman? What's the next step for PRD?
That's a good question, mate.
Is it this podcast?
Yeah, look, I think that this podcast is probably a step in that direction. I, at the moment, like yourself, and you'll have remembered the little kids heading up north. I'm at that stage where I've got 4 little babies, and they're all under 8, and life's very busy, but I was blessed, just like you were with Dee, that I've got Jack, who's just incredible, mate. So, for me personally, I think what's next is I've been looking, and like we indicated, radio was where people sought knowledge. Newspaper before then was where people got their knowledge, then websites, then social media. I think that podcasting is potentially where people now seek their knowledge to consume their content. So that this is a bit of a step in that direction. But I'm really clear on what I want to achieve out of the podcast.
Yep.
And it's bringing people in that I'm truly inspired by, just like you. Yeah. That I feel people just like me yesterday need to listen to.
Yeah.
And so that's where I want it to go. Some of it might be wealth creation, long game, real estate. Some of it might be just talking to someone that I've always wanted to talk to, that I'm sure people would love to listen to.
Yeah.
But I think that's where it needs to go. Where it's going to end up, I don't know. So where it'll just be sort of one of those things. But I think people do learn differently. And I'm very visual like you are. Like when you said you were writing on that windscreen, I'm like, man, that's something I'd do. Like I really resonated with that. So I think that's where it's going to go. Yeah. And I think that bringing key stakeholders along the way as well, because I'm very not territorial with things like this. So after this podcast, I'm going to ask you, hey, mate, what do you reckon? What can I improve on? Who do you think I should be getting in?
Yeah, for sure.
Because that's how the world goes around, right?
Yeah.
It's collaboration. So, but thank you for asking, mate.
Yeah. I guess that's part of why I'm here. Like we're in opposition.
Yeah.
But we're still happy to engage with each other and talk and understand how we can be better human beings. Yeah. I think that's number one. If everyone tries to be a better human being, unfortunately, the old real estate agent, we get the bad tag. Yeah. But I think if you step inside, there's always the bad apple in every bunch, right? We all know it. But I think 99% of property agents and property managers as well, toughest job in real estate, property management, without doubt.
Agreed.
Every single person in property management, man, woman or child, needs a gold medal.
Yeah.
I think, as human beings, we are very good. And one of my favourite things I do, and I do get invested, and it does hurt sometimes when it doesn't happen, but that's the price I'm prepared to pay, is that dealing with farming families, them to be able to trust me to sit around the table with them and me be a part of their team in diversing that asset or buying the asset. And there's nothing better when we've got the transition from a farm family out west. We sell their place out west. We find them a smaller block in through here. A few years later, they come a little block. And then they end up selling a little block and we find them a house in town. Yeah. And I've done that with a number of families now, and it's just so good. And you still see them in town and they're enjoying life, and you become a part of their family. And that's the ultimate gold. I know it sounds really over the top, probably corny, but I think it's I do get emotionally invested in those sort of situations.
Very special, mate.
And I think that helps you get out of bed every day and work the hours you do.
Yeah. Yeah, you're adding value to their lives. Yep. Yeah, and in return, they're adding value to yours.
Yeah, 100%. Without a doubt, mate.
It's
you've hit the name on there. You've hit the name on there. It's a two-way street.
On that note, mate, I think we'll wrap up. I don't think this will be the last time. I'm going to try and claw you back over here at some stage because I've got so many more questions. But on behalf of our viewers and listeners, mate, thank you for coming on. No. George Barton, and until next time, mate.
Thanks for the opportunity. Good. Great to catch up.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Good. How good's that?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, we could waffle.